Welcome back to Coffey Talk. I'm your host, Kate Coffey Bacon, and today I have someone in the chair who I have been genuinely looking forward to hosting on Coffey Talk. If you've spent any time in the Business Central world, there is a very good chance that you have crossed paths with her energy. This is our Mother's Day episode, and I could have not picked a more fitting person to celebrate it with. She is a foster and adoptive mom of nearly 30 children. She is a wife, a caretaker, and someone who has spent her entire adult life doing for others exactly what was once done for her. She is warm, she is honest, she is one of the most quietly remarkable people I have met in this community, Shirley Grimes. Shirley, welcome to Coffey Talk. I'm so glad you're here. Before we dive in, I always like to give my guests a moment to just introduce themselves in your own words, not the resume version, but whatever feels most right and true right now. Who is Shirley Grimes?
Shirley Grimes is just a mom. I'm trying to make it. I'm working every day. I am a mom of 30 children, I would say, because I've fostered for a very long time. I have 4 adoptive children and 1 biological son. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm a caretaker. I love the community, but I'm just trying to do my best and every day to provide for my children and just work really hard to be the best version of myself, I guess you can say.
Yeah. I met you several months ago and I sat across from you at a table in Tampa and you told me so much of your story and it deeply impacted me. And I told you that night, I'm like, you're my Mother's Day episode. Like you are the mom of moms and really love your story. I'm sure we'll get into, the good, bad, easy, hard parts of being a mom, but you're really inspiring to me, Shirley. So thank you for coming and sharing. I want to jump back to the beginning. I always like to go to the beginning to give some backstory. So your story is not one that started in a boardroom, in a classroom. Take us back. What were the early years like for you?
Oh, I don't know if we want to go that far back, but
Go back as far as you want to.
We I mean, I'll go back as far as I can. So my parents were very, very poor, and we actually were homeless for the very first part of our lives. We lived in a car, and my grandmother had to pretty much take care of me my very first year. And then eventually my parents did kind of find an income. They're more trade driven, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And my dad worked very hard, but he did not know how to read or write. So for me, it felt like that's pretty much all that I could achieve. But I grew up in a stable household. It was very chaotic, very difficult at times. We lived with uncertainty of where we're going to live, where we're going to have our next meals. Things were challenging, but it's what made me who I am today. So, moving on, my aunt, actually, when I was about 10 years old, I was struggling a lot with my father. And so she stepped in and decided that she would take me in for a very short time, what was supposed to be a small session. And she asked that I move in, and it forever changed my life. She decided to keep me at the household because I was thriving and I couldn't have been more happy. And she was an amazing role model to me. She just lived her basic life. She just cared for me. I didn't need much. She just needed to love me and be there for me. But I saw so much hope with the household that she had. And I didn't have to worry about the little things, where my meal was coming from, where I'm going to live. There's so much that she provided for me in just what probably felt to her like so little, just stability. And with that, my aunt just kind of kept caring for me. And then she's the one that kind of encouraged me to apply for college. So, I mean, I guess that's a little bit about me. I am an adoptive mom. I have 4 children that I've adopted. I think that kind of stems from my aunt adopting me. I kind of wanted to give to others, and I saw how big of an impact it had on my life and how much that small little investment you make in somebody and how much that can change the whole direction of their life. Every part of the direction. It can change everything about who they are and who they're going to become.
Let's get into how you ended up in the channel. What was that transition like for you?
Well, so my aunt actually ended up passing away when I was getting my psychology degree. I was a psychology major. That's my background. I wanted to help young children and do counseling for them. And my aunt ended up passing away, and it was very traumatic for me. I had a very hard time with it. And I needed a fresh of breath air. Like I needed to get away and change things because it was so overwhelming. So as a single mom, I packed up and I drove to Panama City Beach, never seeing it ever in my life. And, me and my son started. I started serving as a waitress just to kind of make ends meet. And that's where I met my husband. He was the chef at Margaritaville where I work. And we met, and I had to quit my job because we couldn't fraternize. So I quit my job and I found this entry level position at a company called Gulf Coast Panama Jack. And they put me in charge of order entry. Well, at that time, we had a software name called Cougar, and we were moving to Nav. And in my first 3 months, they were like, "We're going to put you on the implementation team." I was like, "You sure about that? Because I'm a psychology major. I'm just here to do whatever you tell me." But that's a pretty big role, you know? And so they put me in charge of it. And so we implemented into Nav. And I kind of fell in love with the whole process of moving into a new system, what the system can do. And then we moved into BC, the cloud version. So I was part of that team as well. And then I've just invested a lot of time into Business Central, learning what it can do and trying to make it better for the team that I work for. So that was
Yeah.
kind of my intro into and how I landed in this BC world.
Yeah. That moment with Nav, I keep thinking about that, and you say you kind of stumbled into it. You started this job, you were figuring out your footing, and the software shows up and something just clicked for you. What was it that clicked for you?
Just that it had so much potential and that it could be utilized to make things better, and that I could play around with it, and that I think there was ways that we were processing things in our system at the moment that wasn't the most efficient. It felt like we were duplicating some different work, and I just started investing in learning the program because with BC there were so many modules, so many screens, so much spots that you could go to, and I just knew that there was a lot more to discover in a sense, and I was always very eager to learn. So I just kept watching videos, clicking around, changing things, and seeing what did and did not work. So that's kind of where my background kind of came from.
Yeah. I want to take pause on for just a second. Um, I just remembered a quote that I read years ago, and it rings very true for me. That essentially the quote was, "Be the person that you needed as a child at that void of maybe absence." I see and feel you becoming that. You certainly had an amazing role model in your aunt, and if I can take a leap, I see that as you also continuing on that legacy that she set out as that kind of unlikely role model for you, and you are following in that legacy in creating that for other people that need that. And that's very commendable, and I see you living that quote. And that I just saw that in my brain and had to bring that into the episode. You have described yourself as a person that wants to help people to become more confident, more independent, empowered. And I hear that in every part of your story, because that's what your aunt also gave you. How did you get from Navision, Microsoft Nav, into that purpose?
I don't know. I think always there's been this drive inside me that's wanted to help in some sort of way. So at that moment, tech was the way I was helping the company, right? But there's always a background of wanting to help young women. So by thriving in technology, maybe I could encourage other young women in foster care, teens, and things like that to maybe try to do something that they've never done. Try to challenge themselves, try something new, don't give up. Even if it's scary, take that risk, go to that job. Never did I think that I was going to land at this job, do order entry, and end up in this career. So take those risks, do those jobs, and be faithful that everything that happens to you, there's a reason. Everything that comes your way, every experience you go through, every journey you go through, even the hard things that I went through, there's a purpose to it. It built me to who I am today. It's what made me strong. It's what made me want to fight. It's what made me want to give to others and encourage them to be better. So I would just say that I think I saw something in Nav that I could build on that hopefully would allow others behind me to say, "Hey, look what she's doing. Look what she's contributing to. Look at the changes she's making." And then hoping that I have this team behind me, these 3 or 4 people, young ladies behind me that are working and saying, "You know what? She didn't get the instruction. No one told her how to do this. She just had the momentum and wanted to take the risk and try to do it." So, I mean, I guess it just comes from the stomach, comes from the belly in a sense.
Yeah.
It comes just from who you are.
Yeah. You've talked about the cost of I'll back up a second. We're all packing up and heading to a conference next week. I just got back from one last week, and there is a cost there as a mom to pack up and leave for a conference. There's meal prep, there's schedule coordination, there is a child crying as you're walking out the door. I remember those days when my kids were little, just having to leave was the mom guilt was
Yes.
such a real thing, and that's not something that we talk about enough. Can we go there? Can we talk
Oh,
about that?
absolutely.
Yeah.
100% because that is on my heart at the moment right now because yes, I have young kids. My youngest, I've got a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old, and they do not comprehend or understand why mom has to leave. And there is just so much guilt about what you're missing, about not being there for your children enough. My daughter has a field trip that I'm going to be missing. My husband's having to take off of work for a whole entire week to allow me to travel. There's this guilt of a mom, but also a wife. He's sacrificing a lot of his PTO days in order for me to be there for the community and give to the community. He knows the outcome I get from it, and I receive a lot from it. But yes, it's the meal packing. It's who's going to be there with the kids if they're sick. What happened? So one time I went to a conference. I got to tell you,
Yeah.
I went to a conference one time, and at that moment we had 7 children in the home, and I decided to go to a conference, and everyone ended up with a stomach bug. And I'm telling you, the amount of stress you can feel at a conference, I was like sweating, anxiety, about to throw up. And I was like, I need to get out of here. I've got to get home. Everybody in my household was throwing up. We ended up having to get rid of the couch. It was so bad because my husband, it takes a lot for a household to be ran. And us moms, I think we know that, right? There's so many things, and no offense to fathers or anything, I think they do a lot as well. But us moms, there's a lot of things that we do that are unseen, preparing for Teacher Appreciation Week this week, getting all the cards that all the teachers need, getting the lunches packed, getting the forms filled out, making sure everybody has their school shirt that they're supposed to wear at that field trip. What happens if somebody forgets something? I'm usually the go-to call to go and bring it to them real quick. So there's a lot of mom guilt and there's a lot of prep that goes into preparing to leave for a conference. I will tell you that in the personal life, there's a lot of prep. It's preparing, making sure that groceries are packed, meals are prepped, everyone's field trip information is ready, that everything's going to be set up for success. And then there's also the work aspect of prepping to go to a conference because you know that you're going to be busy for a whole entire week. So you have to work that weekend to kind of get ahead on any projects, get ahead on anything that you need to do to allow yourself a little bit of flexibility to really sit there and learn and get into the sessions that you need to get into. So, I mean, it's a lot. I think it's well worth it. I think you come back so recharged and so fueled. And I think it's given a lot to me going to these conferences because I can promise you that I would not be able to do the amount of work that I do if it wasn't for the things that I've learned at the conferences, especially AI and Copilot and things like that. Just being able to help me in small increments, being able to help, write emails faster or guide me before a meeting. All those things have been techniques that have helped me tremendously. So it's well worth it. It's just, it takes a lot for us to get there, right? I mean, I think I hear it across the community. I hear Tasha talk about it. There's a lot of, like, Shannon talks about it. There's a lot of moms that talk about all the investment and all the time and the mom guilt we have going to these conferences. But I think it's well worth going to. Just,
Yeah, it absolutely is, and it is such, an infectious community of support. I have my, like, little girl gang that we all kind of build each other up and support each other in the cost. Yeah, there is a personal cost of prep before you leave, and there's a professional cost. I mean, this week I am working an insane amount just to prep my team, to prep my materials, to prep my sessions. That's a whole other, area, this incredible amount of time that people spend on teaching and getting those decks ready and getting that content ready, and is love it. I personally show up at as many events as I possibly can. There is a cost, and like I said, I don't think that we recognize it and give each other an affirmative nod. Like, I see you, I'm glad to see you. I know what it took for you to be here. And that's a lesson for me too. Shirley, when I see you, I'm going to hug you the biggest and say, I
oh,
know what it took for you to be here.
I think there needs to be like a mom group that gets together and just says, like,
Yeah.
here's the things that have really helped me prepare for these,
Yes.
like maybe be Uber Eats or
Yeah.
delivery drop-offs or, one time I was able to schedule cleaning the day before I arrived back. And let me tell you, the amount of weight that helped,
Yes.
it was well worth it. So just I think that this does need to be a part of the communication across the board for all the moms and the people that are working extra and putting the extra effort. Like, I see you. I know you're a mom, you're putting in the extra time, you're putting in the extra energy, and I see the work you're putting into before you go into this conference. We see you, we commend you.
Yeah.
Great job, and great job to you, as well, because it does take a lot. It's well worth it. Yes, we all agree, and it is contagious. That's why we keep going back, isn't it?
Right.
Exhausting, but it's so contagious, and we get so much out of it too. Like, I mean, I'm sure you could agree. Like, you get so much from the community. You learn so many things. So,
Yeah.
mom guilt's huge, though.
Yeah.
It's on your heart, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's the learning, yes. It's also the support in the community. I mean, some of the dearest friends of my life I've met in this channel. So, yes, it's absolutely worth the work to show up for. I think you've really hit on something, and you have some kind of wheels in my own head turning, doing a lot of work with women in tech, with dynamic communities. And I think maybe we need to create a subgroup of moms where we do exactly what you said, share tips and tricks of how we're managing the household when we have to step out and, you know, put on our blazer or whatever and kind of step into another role. I think that's a really great idea, and I think it's needed. So I just added that on my list of to-dos. We're going to start a subgroup, and I think it'll be very, very beneficial. Let me shift gears because I want to talk about specifically the empowerment that you give your daughters. I think to have a very strong female role model. I've talked about legacy. I've talked about purpose on other episodes of moms specifically and what we're leaving behind. I just wrote a very personal blog about legacy and intention and what I'm trying to leave behind. And so you've talked to your daughters about, I love this, teaching them that fear is okay, but you lift your head up and you lead anyway. Where did that come from for you?
God, honestly, my faith, I've actually got it on my arm right here, faith over fear. So I have to have faith that everything happens for a reason and God has a plan for us, and everything we go through and every journey that happens to us or every experience that we go through, it's not failure. It's creating who you are. It's what you're meant to go through. Everything will happen for a reason, and you have to have faith. And I try to teach my daughters that because they've been through a lot in their young lives. Like I said, I've adopted them. I won't share all their story, but they've had a lot of trauma, and I have to tell them that, like, God put you with me for a purpose. God put you through those things because you're going to become stronger in the end, and you're going to fight like I did, and you're going to raise up to be so much better than you could ever imagine. Our past does not dictate who we're going to become. Our past is what builds us to who we're going to become. And it's just like, I always remind my daughters, I'm always like, have faith. God's got you. And I always try to do affirmations with my daughters. So we always do I'm brave, I'm strong, I'm smart, I'm beautiful, and I'm loved. And I'm trying to just instill that so much into them. But most importantly, faith. I just want them to know that even through the hard times, and there's going to be hard moments, whether it be a divorce, whether it be, a loss of a child, whether it be a significant other, cheating on you, whether it be just so many different things, a loss of a job or a change in a job, all these things come to us, and we just have to have faith that, like, there is a better purpose for what I'm going through. Every part of our journey is a lesson for us to become something better.
Yeah.
So I would just say faith. I think it just comes from finding faith in God. I'm very thankful to everything that He's done in my life. I can promise you that you couldn't have told me this stuff when I was a teenager. When I was a teenager,
Right.
there's absolutely no reason that any of the stuff I should have went through. And I would have screamed and told you, nope, there is no God. He would never put children through these things.
Yeah.
But I would tell that child that is going through those things, those teenager, whoever's going through that hard, difficult moment, that I can promise you, when you come out of this rainstorm, there will be rainbows and there will be celebration because you will be so much better and you will have fought harder than anybody else, and you have a story to tell and you have something to share with other people, and it's going to be what encourages you to give back to others. So when you see somebody in a rainstorm, you're going to pull them in and you're going to say, hey, I've been there before too. And come with me because you can achieve more. Where I should have been, isn't here. It's not in this tech space. It's not where I could have been is on the streets, probably on drugs and doing all the wrong decisions. But I came here for a reason, and it was my aunt jumping in and just being that small little momentum that really changed and developed who I am today. So I would encourage everybody just to continue to guide people as they're going through that rainstorm. Tell them it's okay. Especially if you look at that rainstorm, that's the same one you went through. Tell them, hey, I promise it gets better, even if they don't want to hear it at that moment.
Yeah. It's that refiner's fire, right? It's the trusting, it's the faith that everything that's being served to you is for a purpose. I think I've mentioned this on a coffee talk before, but there is recently saw a video of a bunch of big name like movie stars sitting around a table, and they were talking about this too shall pass. And the stories that they were telling was things are going to be really hard. Things are going to be really hard. You listed out a bunch of things that happened to us as hard stuff. This too shall pass. And then things are going to get really great. And guess what? This too shall pass. So finding that grounding your faith, finding that stability to lean into and trust and depend on that these hard lessons are for a reason, and it doesn't make the lessons easier, but knowing, to your point, that there is a rainbow that's coming. We are promised a rainbow, that there is a rainbow that's coming. I want to ask you a really tough question.
Okay,
Okay.
go
All
for it.
right. What was something that you had to learn the hard way?
We had to learn the hard way. You can make plans, but be okay that they're not always going to go the way you think that they're going to go. Make the plan, but be okay to pivot where you need to pivot because life is going to throw you curveballs. I spent 3 years raising these beautiful children, and they were 100% to me part of my plan. I was going to be their mom. I loved them tremendously, and I invested in them, and I had to let go of that plan. I had to choose to let go and say goodbye to them, and that was one of the hardest. I mean, I cried for nights. It was the hardest decision I ever made. So I had to let go of that plan to give them a better future, and sometimes we have to choose to allow our faith to say, there's something better. I don't know what it is for them, but I know I've got to give them something better, and it was to give them to another adoptive family that could provide for them a little bit better than I could at that moment. I had 9 children under one household, and I was working full time, and I wasn't being able to give them what they needed. And so I had to make a choice and I had to say goodbye. And that was one of the, for sure, hardest decisions I've ever made in my whole entire life was saying goodbye to those children. But you know what? At that moment, you couldn't have told me. I tried to have faith. It's actually kind of some of the reason why I got faith over fear on my arm was because I had to tell myself, Shirley, you have to have faith over all your fears, over everything that you're scared of happening, not seeing them again, not ever talking to them not remembering you. You have to just let go of that and you have to say, God's got them and I don't know why, but they need something better than me. And
Mhm.
God had them. God put them into an amazing home. They are amazingly loved and they have the best support ever and they're still part of my life, so I still get to see them. I still get to be part of their journey, and one of my 13-year-old daughters, I still call her my daughters because every one of my children that come in my household are my children, no matter where they are in their phase of life. So my daughter is 13 and she still tells me, how much I helped her and how much I'm important to her story. She writes me Mother's Day cards and she's so thankful for all the things I did in that short season that she was. So we all have special moments and it might be short season, it might be long season. And you just have to give everything that you can and know that your plan might change and it's okay because there's something better on the other side. So just have faith. And if you plan for something, just be okay that it might go a different direction. Like I was a psychology major, gonna become a counselor, and here I am in the tech space. And this is where obviously I was meant to be because I enjoy it. I love learning about tech, especially all the AI stuff. Like it was meant for me to be here. So I would just say, be okay with the plan, but it's okay to allow little pivots here and there to adjust for better things.
Yeah. We talk about pivots a lot on Coffee Talk and what we learn from them and in truly trusting the process. Let's look at your aunt. She was so influential to you. I hear that in the consistent thread in your story. And maybe she never knew what she was building in you just by going to work, being consistent, making the right decisions for you, showing up for you. What do you think she would say if she knew the impact she had on you?
Make me emotional at the moment.
That's okay.
I think she'd be really proud. I think she would say she's glad that the things that she was doing just normal. I mean, I don't think she would feel like she did anything astronomical or anything crazy. She just gave me a place to sleep and gave me a loving home. And at that moment, it might not have felt like a lot to her. And I think she'd be really proud. I think that she would say that there was a reason that she did it. And some of that is so that I can give back to the community. I can give back to these children. That's obviously she invested in me and I'm able to invest in other people. I don't know. I think she'd be really proud. It's really emotional for me to think about just because she is not with me. And I wish she was here to see some of the impact. I wish I would have told her more. I was in my teens. I'd gotten pregnant after high school. So I think she'd be shocked to see who I am today. Honestly, she would be shocked to see who I am today and that I have created an amazing family and that I have became a influence to other young ladies. My uncle, who is still alive, he's super proud of me and he sees me get to foster other young ladies. And the little girl that I had that's 13, when she was moved in my house, he said, "Man, it just feels like it's you. That is you
Mhm.
in your own household." I felt every bit of that. That's why it was always so hard to say goodbye to her at that moment because I did feel like she went through everything that I went through, and I took her in right around 8 years old, and my aunt took me in at 10, so it felt very similar. But I still think even if it wasn't for the long term, I still made a huge impact
Yeah.
during that short season. Yeah, I think my aunt would be shocked, honestly, that I've come this far because I was a single mom, and I was working 3 jobs. I was going to school for psychology, but, um, my high school years, they were less than great. I was very teenager rebellion, doing all the bad things, making all the bad decisions, all the bad choices. I was a train wreck. So to see that I've overcome a lot of that stuff is a lot.
Yeah. I had someone tell me one time I was going through a specifically difficult season of parenting my son, who is 25 now and is incredible human being. And I was standing on the edge of a river. My daughter was in a rowing club and she was rowing, and this older gentleman, he must have literally been an angel because he just came to me and he said, "I don't know what you're going through right now, but I feel the need to tell you that you just need to love them right through it. Whatever is going on, you need to love them right through it." And I was like knees buckled, and I hugged him and I said, "I don't know where you came from or who you are." He's like, "I'm just here watching my granddaughter." He said, "But I just feel like I need to tell you that." Incredible. And not that I wouldn't have loved my son right through it. I would have, but I leaned into him more and trusted who he was more as a result of that and realized that it was just a moment. You said it, like you were making the bad choices. You were doing things that might be questionable, but that is part of growing up. That's part of finding your way to learn what not to do and what to do. And I literally went home and hugged him, 6'5", gigantic human being, and said, "I'm just going to love you. I'm going to lean into you. We're going to start doing dinner once a month. I'm sorry, once a week. And I'm going to lean into you and I'm going to love you right through this. And this is not going to tear us apart." And it changed my life. That one piece of advice changed the way that I was showing up for my kids. So I see that um, in her, in your aunt, and I mean, look at you. You really, Shirley, you're incredible. And I've heard you say that you're not anyone special. That's outrageous. You are you are incredibly special. Still, you said you still get nervous before almost anything. I think people I've come across this as well in my adulthood. I think people assume that confident people are just born that way. And like you, people are very surprised to find out that whenever I'm about to stand up and give a session or honestly hit record on a coffee talk, I want to run and hide because I'm very nervous and I'm very like, I can't do this, but we get out of our own way. We get out of our own way to make a difference. And in all of that, what is a piece of advice that you would give someone that sees themselves in that feeling of, I'm not anything special. I get nervous at everything. I'm afraid. What would be one piece of advice that you would give someone that's feeling that way?
Take the risk. Don't be afraid of failure. try even when you are scared and keep trying even when you are nervous. I am nervous, get scared to say the right things or the wrong things, but I think we have to keep trying because if we want to encourage others and we want to give to other people in the community, we have to give as well. And so every person has a story. You said I'm not, not special. I think we're all special. We all have something we've been through. I've never been through a divorce. Somebody might have been through a divorce. They can help that person that is in the rainstorm of a divorce. I think we all have something to give and we all have a story to tell and we all have something special about every single one of us. Every mom, every person in the community, I think we all can contribute in some way. And I would just say, like, don't give up, have faith, keep fighting. You're going to make it and keep having enough belief in yourself because I would tell them to ask the person that is the most confident in the room that did walk in, that you look at and you're like, man, I just want to be just like her. She's confident. She gets up there. I mean, I go to these classes and these sessions and I see people speak about their sessions and they are so amazing and they're so confident. And I'm just like, but I bet you I could ask them and they would tell me that they're scared and nervous too. So the best people are also as nervous, even more nervous than we are. And I can promise you, if you come to my class, I'm going to be a ball of energy, nervous that I'm going to mess something up or my presentation isn't going to work. But I think that's the thing. We have to take the risk and we have to try. And I can tell you that the risk paid off. So taking the risk, you get something in return. So I didn't think that I would be part of this community in this way. It wasn't what I sought out for. It was just I wanted to challenge myself. And so I decided to speak on a class. I was just like, I'm going to start with something simple, something I know, and I'm going to speak on it. And then I have received so much feedback and so much encouragement from the community. It's contagious, is what you said, right? It's very contagious. And then you just want to keep giving and you want to keep continuing. And personally, for me, I have found that like I want to encourage all the people in the community to not only give to people and other people in the community, I want you to look down under and see if you can find some teenager that might need that small glimpse of hope, that teenager that personally, I'm a foster care advocate. So I love that there are so many children out there in foster care that are just going to age out of the system and they don't have a mentor and they don't have somebody to look up to because they're going to age out and the system is a failure. I mean, the system fails children all the freaking time. And most likely they will end up homeless, on drugs, or in jail. And so I really want to be a statistic that changes that. And I think our community is the perfect spot to do it. Like I think the tech world, do you know what kind of power we have? These children are growing up on cell phones and technology. And I don't think it's talked about enough in the community that there's a whole group of teenagers and young adults that could be moving into this industry. I mean, it's huge and people should be wanting to be in this field. And I think they could, but a teenager that maybe doesn't know, she's most likely the biggest hopes for her is just to get a full-time job and not become like her mom.
Mm.
I mean, that's what a lot of these teenagers face is I don't want to become on drugs. So the best thing that I can do is maybe just work at McDonald's and that's great if that's for you, but I want to encourage that person. You can go further than that, honey. Your background, your past does not determine your future. You can push so much further than that. Push yourself, challenge yourself, and let that be the ammunition and the fire to you that makes you want to become so much better in the community. And I think there's a lot, I would love to. I have a lot of ideas, I guess you can say. I wish that there was some kind of internship for these teenagers to kind of come on and learn some tech underneath some of us community members,
Yeah.
to get involved in the community and bring somebody in and say, hey, I just want to teach you a couple things and get the momentum going. And to be able to invite them to these conferences. Can you imagine, like, I'm sorry, just off on my rangent real quick. Can
Yeah.
you imagine a teenager that just got out of foster care and just being able to find that teenager that feels like there's no hope and there's no chance of moving forward and just grabbing them and saying, hey, I've got an amazing opportunity for you if you want to take it. We're going to send you this conference. You're going to learn all these different things. And if they get sparked by the idea and see it and just seeing these instructors and these other young women and these amazing mentors that are up on that stage, right? The women in tech, the women teaching and the men teaching, if they saw these people teaching and leading like this, I guarantee it will spark a fire in them that they didn't know that they even have, and they'll want to become that leader as well. I really feel like that. So that's why I continue to try to encourage my daughters, like, tech's where it at. I mean, tech's not going anywhere. So it's a great field to get into. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, it really is. I have a 21-year-old daughter, and I'm hoping that she ends up in the tech space, or I selfishly hope she ends up in the channel so I can see her. But I believe in um I believe in young women in tech, obviously. I'm a huge advocate for it and try to create multiple support systems for them so that they can see that it is possible. We are still a male dominated industry, but we are so fortunate to have so many strong female voices that are saying, I see you, I'm coming alongside you, I'm mentoring you, you belong here, and really equipping our young women professionals to step into this space because it is such a powerful space to be in. I never, like you, I never thought I would be in tech. And here I am, and I'm never leaving. Everyone is just stuck with me. So be that what it may, you're stuck with me. As we kind of wrap up and close out, we talked about so many things. What do you want someone to walk away from this conversation carrying with them?
One would be, don't let your past determine what your future is going to look like. Let your past be the motivation and the fire and the drive that takes you where you want to be. And so let that ammunition, fire you up and get you where you want to go. If I had a second one, it would be stay faithful, that everything that you go through, every journey that happens to you, every rainstorm, every hard situation, small season, big seasons, that there is something better going to happen for you. So stay faithful that God has a plan and a purpose, and you just have to trust the process and go through it and understand that that is going to be the fire. What you went through is going to be the fire that makes you who you are. You know, just stay faithful in that. And then I guess the only other thing too is like just to say to moms, like, moms, I see you and feel you in so many ways. It is hard. It's challenging. And I just want to take a deep breath with this, but like it's exhausting, but I see you and you're doing an amazing job. And your kids love you. And I think I can speak on this because I've had 30 children, and you would be shocked how much of an impact you make on your children's life just being daily there. They don't need much. They just need love. That's all they need from you. And as long as you're providing them love, they see you and you're doing a great job. And what you're doing and leaving leaving for these conferences, going to work every day, you are building in them so that they can continue to give to their children. You're leaving a legacy, right? So you're building so that they can see the role model, and their children, are going to be greater for it. And so you're continuously adding to your family. You're leaving something behind. And one day, hopefully they look back and they say, heaven forbid, Grandma Shirley was an amazing rock star. She was an amazing part of the community. If it wasn't for her, where would we be today? And she really taught me a whole lot. I would just say, moms, I see you. You're amazing. You're doing great. Keep doing it. And I know it's hard, but it's all going to be worth it.
Yeah. Wow, Shirley, thank you so much for being here. And wow, thank you for being so honest. I've said this so many times. I'm a container of stories, and I carry these stories with me, and they truly do change me and influence me. And I hear these voices in my head in times when I doubt myself, when I doubt what I'm doing and where I'm going. We all do that. That's such a natural thing, but I have your voice in my head, and I'm so grateful for that. Thank you for the affirmation for the moms. Truly, this is our Mother's Day episode, and you are such a perfect guest and story for how we can show up. And even when we think that no one is noticing and we're doing all of this work, the legacy is there. You said it with your aunt, and the legacy that you're leaving for your own children. So thank you for that affirmation that these kids don't know how hard we're working, but man, we're working, and we're creating a better future for them. Thank you. Again, I cannot say thank you enough, Shirley. This has been really impactful for me, and I know for the listeners as well. Do you have anything else you want to leave? I want to keep giving you the floor. Do you have anything else you want to leave the listener with?
Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for inviting me on. I'm shocked that you even sent me an email. I get shocked in the community how many people have been so encouraging. So thank you for hearing me and seeing me. And I hope that, if you see me in the community, feel free to come up and say hi. I'm more nervous than anybody in the community probably, but I'm just a normal person. I'm an end user. So, I'm just here to try to help other people and encourage other people in the community so that we can all become better together. It takes all of us encouraging each other, and we're all in different stories. So yeah.
It really does. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Coffee Talk.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on Coffee Talk. A special thanks to my guests for sharing their story and to you, the listener, for being a part of this conversation. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a Monday morning chat. Until next time, I'm Kate Coffey Bacon, and this has been Coffey Talk.